Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry, bringing you another show today with College Football Stop. It's September 7th, so let's get to it. And I got a couple interesting things to go over today. So I'm going to start it with some Ohio State stuff and then get into some national things that I've seen and some players that I thought were really good over this past weekend nationally. And then we'll kind of round it off with Ohio State stuff at the end. So as always, if you enjoy it, leave a like, things like that. So let's get into it. So the first thing, again, I said we're starting with some Ohio State stuff. The players met with the media, and they had like Dave Snigmanosin, Jordan Hancock, Chip Trainum, Josh Fryer, Cade Stover, Steel Chambers, a couple like that. So uh, getting into some interesting things I heard, Dave Snigmanosin said, he's like, when they were asking him about the catches he gave up, he said, I don't want to give up any catches. Obviously, that's the mentality that you want from a corner. So I love hearing that from him. And then he did mention not being overly physical. I don't want him to take that out of his game because he's very physical, and I think that's one of his best attributes. But he did get a pass interference call, and he said, "Look, I'm just going to try to run the route for the receiver and be a little bit less physical so that doesn't happen." But then he also turned around and said, "I thought that was good defense." So he was questioning the pass interference call, which again, I want that mentality from a corner. I play good defense. I don't care what you say. And then the last thing that he said that was interesting to me was he said he thinks BIA is back. So we'll see. We haven't seen him versus a team that is like a traditional offense yet. So we'll see how that plays out. And then Jordan Hancock was another guy who met with the media. He said that he's ready to play nickel or corner. And he said he actually likes nickel a lot because he likes to be closer to the ball. He likes to hit people and he likes to be physical. So we may see some of that this week with a team that is going to pass the ball more, like a traditional drop back. We may see more of Jordan Hancock in the nickel, and I like that idea as long as Sonny Styles doesn't come off the field. So we'll see how that plays out. Then the next guy I wanted to talk about was Chip Trainum. Obviously, Chip looked like a beast. You got a lot of people screaming for him to be RB1 after what he did this weekend. Uh, I think he's good enough to do it, absolutely. So, but they asked him in the beginning of the interview, "What position do you play?" His response was, "Shit, whatever the team needs." And I love that attitude from him. I hope that he gets a lot of reps as the running back so that he can get more carries. But I felt like the plays where he was in at fullback and he was blocking, those plays all worked really well. So, you know, again, I want to see what's best for him, but what's best for the team is having him in that position also. And I think that he's just going to embrace that. I like the attitude that Chip has. He almost has an ego. He even like referred to himself in the third person, like Chip does this or whatever, like once or twice, not every time. But I love that from him. We need guys like that. I need to see someone out there who's like, I'm better than you. And he seems to have that attitude. So hopefully he keeps that up, and we'll see a lot of good things out of Chip this year. Moving on to the next guy, Josh Fryer. He had one of the more interesting segments, which if you watch the player interviews in the past, usually offensive linemen do. They just have well thought out answers. They have a lot to say. He felt like the offensive line play was mediocre, but he also mentioned it's week one, and he said that Indiana's defense, in his mind, their defense is really good. He said that team's going to make a bowl game. I don't know. We'll see. They're not projected to, but their defense. I felt like they played well in terms of like tackling, confusing the Ohio State's offense. So I don't know. We'll see. And then he said that the errors that they made, he said slight correctable errors, which I believe that, and I think that when you watch the film, that supports it. That it was a slight communication errors where they're not getting to the right guy they need to get to, and they're allowing a free rusher or a free hitter on the running back. And then uh, Fryer actually took some of the blame for that too. He said, multiple times that the whole line is a unit and all that stuff. But when it came down to Luke Montgomery being in the game, he came in as that extra offensive lineman slash like tight end on short yardage plays. Fryer had him lined up next to him, and he actually took the blame and was like, "Look, I should have communicated better to the young guy what person he's supposed to block, who we're supposed to block to, and all that good stuff." So I like everything I heard from Josh Fryer. I think he's in for a big year, and hopefully he's going to be a NFL player someday. All right, so that was it for the player interviews. The other thing, actually, the last thing on that, the beat writers went out of their way in these interviews to ask the players like what they thought about the scrutiny they were receiving online. Now, I don't know, I don't like that because obviously it's one thing for people to scrutinize what a player is doing and post that on Twitter or anything like that, right? There's obviously Kirk Herbstreit and all that coming out saying that Ohio State fans are psychopaths and all this stuff. There's nothing wrong with criticizing players when they're not playing up to standard. Obviously, you don't want to be rude or disrespectful with it, but for the media to go and ask the players this is kind of crazy to me because, like, first off, we shouldn't even assume that that's what they care about. And when they asked them about it, the players all said, we don't care about what people have to say, obviously. But I feel like the media is asking these players how they feel about it because they want to like support their narrative that it's absolutely terrible and it's the wrong thing to do. And I don't know, that just felt personal, like they not personal to me. It felt like they were looking for the players to like stroke their ego about being on the right side of it. But again, it's silly. It shouldn't even be something that's brought up in that scenario, in my opinion. All right, so that was it for the player interviews. I'm gonna move on now to some national things that just going on around college football, and then, like I said, we'll circle back to Ohio State a little bit later. So let me see here. So just a couple things that I've seen. I saw a graphic on Twitter, a CBS viewership. They had, I think it was like their most viewed game ever, the Ohio State versus Indiana game. And it was 4.65 million average viewers, and it peaked at 5.71 million. That's, I mean, that's huge numbers, and that's the Ohio State effect, I guess. Maybe because it was a little bit of a closer game, everybody wanted to tune in, thinking maybe they were going to see Ohio State lose or struggle. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty interesting. That a game with a team that was not expected to be very good versus Ohio State did numbers like that. So we'll move on from that. Um, Now, I guess this is still kind of on the subject of Ohio State. The players in the NFL getting paid. Nick Bosa just signed, I believe, the highest uh, contract for a defensive player ever at 5 years, 170 million, or at least the highest extension ever. But again, I mean, that's crazy. If you're a defensive lineman, go play for Larry Johnson. I mean, obviously, I think Joey Bosa signed the highest ever defensive contract at the time, also when it was his extension time. So, obviously Larry Johnson's doing something right. Things haven't been absolutely perfect on the defensive line recently, but when you see stuff like that, it's great to see Buckeyes out there getting paid, especially that much. And then one more thing that I saw, again, just kind of looking around, and I thought this was interesting. So Clemson obviously lost to Duke, I think 28-7 this past weekend. They have a linebacker on their team, Barrett Carter, who's supposed to be one of the best linebackers in the country coming into this year. At least that's what what he was projected to be, which I think he's still going to be really good. But he was doing a player interview and he said, "I feel like I'm not in shape. I'm not in game shape." I thought that was interesting because, I mean, it's the first game of the year, man. Like they definitely should have their players in shape to ready to go. So I don't know. That could be a sign of like some other issues going on at Clemson. I don't know what's really going on down there, but I know that ever since the last time they made the playoffs, Ohio State beat them. A lot of people are saying Ohio State broke Clemson. Whatever happened, I don't know. But I know that ever since that time, they haven't been very good. I think that the thing that I saw said that they were like 21-7 since then, which I think they were like 75-7 in the years before that. I don't know, but anyway, Clemson's not looking great, and hearing that from your players is just not something you want to hear. Let me see here, and then for the last thing I wanted to talk about as far as like national stuff goes is my most impressive players that I've seen so far this year in college football overall. I haven't watched every game, so if you have a different person, leave it in the comments. Let me know who's the guy that I should be looking out for and I should be watching. But let's get into those players. So the first one is going to be Zachariah Branch at USC. Um, I got to watch a lot of their first game. I didn't get to watch a ton of their second game, but I mean that kid looks dynamic, and he's a true freshman. I mean, I seen him return a kick for a kickoff for a touchdown, and making plays in the pass game. He's only played 2 games. He's already got 3 touchdowns as a true freshman. That's crazy. I love to see that. And USC had like I think 15 guys catch passes in their last game, and I think five different guys caught touchdowns. That's just a little stat that I saw that was kind of crazy to me. But yeah, Zachariah Branch is going to be a problem, and he's going to keep getting better. Um, with that Lincoln Riley offense, that team's going to be dangerous, even with their defense being not very good at all. The next one I want to get into, it's going to pain me to say this, but JJ McCarthy at Michigan, he was impressive to me because he made throws that I didn't see him making last year. And, being a hater, Ohio State fan, I didn't think that he would take that next step and become that elite passer. Now, I'm not ready to say that he is yet because they played against Eastern Carolina. Obviously, people play against bad competition. They're going to look good. But he made some throws into some windows and in spots where I didn't think that he could make. So I'm going to be on the lookout for JJ McCarthy this year. And if JJ McCarthy is really good, Ryan Day and Ohio State got their work cut out for them because that team's going to be really good, especially come November when they got to see him. All right, let's move on from that. The rivals. All right, Keon Coleman at Florida State is my next player. Obviously, Florida State opened up the year with a big game against LSU. A lot of people were predicting this could be a potential playoff matchup, even, or have playoff implications. So obviously, it was a huge game. Keon Coleman is a receiver that transferred from Michigan State to Florida State, and I mean, this was his first game at Florida State, and he went crazy. 9 catches, 122 yards, 3 TDs, and 13.6 yards per catch. I mean, you can't do much better than that. It was a big game. His other receivers were doing good too. Um, I think Johnny Wilson was the other guy that was doing really well. They got a good receiving core down there in Florida State, and they're going to be a problem. So, again, just Keon Coleman, check him out. The guy, he's huge. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5". He looks fast, freaky, and he can catch the ball over you. He can catch the ball and take it to the house on a slant. So that's going to be one of my players to look out for. And then the last one on this list, I have Travis Hunter at Colorado. Obviously, there was all the hype with Colorado because of Deion Sanders. I'm on the hype train. I think Colorado is going to be a good team. The mentality that Deion Sanders has going through his whole entire team is, I mean, it's going to be a problem for anybody that they play against. So I love that from him. But Travis Hunter was super impressive. He played receiver. I think he played over 100 snaps in the game, both sides of the ball. And he had over 100 yards receiving and also had an interception and looked like he was playing good in pass coverage the entire game. I mean, that kid's going to be a problem for anybody that they play against. You got someone who can play both ways at 100%, and he can do everything. Again, that's just, you don't see that ever in college football anymore, and looks like Deion Sanders is going to bring that back. All right, so that's kind of it for my national segment for today. I'm going to move back to some Ohio State stuff, and we're going to get into things that I'm most excited to see in this Youngstown State game coming up, and then we'll kind of wrap this up and go on here. So let me see. Obviously, with Ohio State playing Youngstown State, they are going to hopefully be the more talented team, hopefully be able to kind of put this game away early. I mean, you hate to say that about any opponent, but that's just the reality in a situation like this. I don't expect Ryan Day to run the score up too much because it is a team in Ohio. Jim Tressel was just the president there not too long ago. Obviously, you want to be respectful to a team like this, but at the same time, it's football, man. Go play football. And the Youngstown State players are out there popping off. I heard some of them players saying they put their pants on the same way we do, and they play football the same way we do. You watch their film, they make just as much mistakes as we do. So, and we're coming to win this game. Obviously, that's what they're supposed to say, but hey, they're not coming into it with the mentality of you're going to blow us out. So, go out there and blow them out if you can. So, some of the things I'm most excited to see though in this game, First is going to be the running backs. I thought we were going to see a better sample size of the running backs in the Indiana game, but Indiana's defense was kind of confusing our offensive line early in the game, and they needed time to gel. So hopefully having that one game under their belt, getting to watch the film and see where they messed up, hopefully the running backs can really shine here. I look for Travion Henderson to be a big player in that. I'm kind of standing on what I said before. I think Trey is going to be RB1 on this team because he brings a quickness and a dynamic aspect that nobody else brings. That doesn't mean that Chip may not be the best running back on this team. We'll see. Mayan's also a really good running back, and then Dallin is too. So I mean, again, that room is just stacked. But I'm interested to see them because I want to see Trey try to get into a rhythm because he can really take a game over. And then I want to see some of those other backs that we didn't see in the Indiana game get out there. Hopefully we'll see Dallin Hayden and even Evan Pryor in this game. That would be awesome. Evan Pryor is the guy who I've always been super high on. I think he's very shifty and fast, and from what I've seen, he's really good out of the backfield too. So that's the first thing. The second thing is going to be the quarterback battle. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of people going back and forth about this on Twitter, all over the place about is Kyle McCord the starter? Is he not? I don't know. Ryan Day doesn't want to say that he is. I don't know if that's for Devin's ego or if he thinks that the quarterback battle is still going on. I don't know what it is, but I hope to see both of them play and just watch it play out right in front of us. That's what we wanted to see the first game, and there should be no reason why we can't see that in this game. So, excuse me. All right, so hopefully Ryan Day can make that happen. I really don't want to hear any more excuses about it. I just want to see it happen. Let's put him out there and let him play. I mean, if you can't beat Youngstown State with either quarterback, then that's a whole nother story. All right, the next thing I want to see is more reps for the young guys. I feel like we have a lot of talent on this team that are like sophomores and freshmen. One of the big guys, one of the guys that's talked about a lot is CJ Hicks. We haven't really seen him play. 14 games and he's only played one snap. I hope to see him out there more. Jim Knowles did say that the reason why he didn't rotate the linebackers more in the last game was because they were running a triple option. He wanted his guys out there that he can trust the most. I'm going to hold him to his word and just say, okay, whatever. I mean, I hate that because I wanted to see the other guys play. But if that's how he felt, then that's how he felt. And hopefully we'll get it. We'll get to see Cody Simon, maybe Gabe Powers, and CJ Hicks in the Youngstown State game. All right, and then I'm super excited and interested to see the defense versus a traditional offense. Obviously, the performance they put up this weekend was one of the best in recent years in terms of yards and points allowed, but that wasn't a traditional offense. Indiana didn't run that type of offense last year, so they were new to that triple option type offense. So let's see them versus a traditional offense and see if they can cover receivers when the quarterback drops back and has time to sit back there for a minute. Stop the run game when there is a threat of the pass game because there really wasn't last game. All those things I'm interested to see, and I'm hoping to see the defensive line take this game over, whether that be from a run-stopping standpoint or getting after the passer on passing downs. I'm hoping to see them take this game over and just prove that you're one of the best in the country. That's what I want to see out of every player out there. Do something that shows to me that you're one of the best in the country, because I think that's what you need to be to play at Ohio State and to get Ohio State to the goal that they want to get to, which is to win, obviously, the Big Ten and a national championship. So that's going to be it for today's show. Thanks for watching. As always, leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button if you're interested in the content. I'm going to keep pumping it out here, but have a good day.